Please welcome on stage Steve Aoki and Chad Hurley.
Ready to rock and roll? Let's do this. All right, so how do we get started?
I don't know.
We don't know the rules. They didn't tell us. They just told us to sit here and start talking to each other. So I guess we can just start at the beginning. I'd love to know, Steve, how you got your start kind of in the music world.
It all started for me, to make it more brief. I was into bands first. And if people know me as a DJ, but they don't know my past as being in bands and starting. Really, like, my label was the kind of first steps getting into this world. I was in punk bands, and then I started this label. I was putting on shows in my living room in college, and I was writing for a zine. I was very involved with just the building of the community at the small scale. And I started the label. We were putting out records from bands that were playing in the living room. Mm-hmm. And eventually it got to the point where we started signing bands that actually were selling records. And this is like 96, 97, 98. And in 2001, we put out an EP by a band that I started going on tour with. So then I started seeing the world. I did like 4 U.S. tours as their merch guy, as the driver, as, learning how to be a tour manager. And then in 2002, I signed another band called The Kills, and it did the same thing. It's like, oh, I already know how to drive this little van, and I could sell the merch and sell the CDs, and really very underground, like selling out of the back of our cars, so to speak. And I went on tour with them a lot, went to Japan. And at that point in time, I stopped playing in bands. I was like, okay, now I'm a label, now I'm a business. Moved to LA, and then started throwing parties around the label. And that's really my first stumbling into DJing, was not necessarily to become a DJ, but to promote Dim Mak, which is my label. Mm-hmm. And we'd throw these parties, but we'd get bands to come DJ, because I wasn't in the DJ world in 2003, 2004. I didn't go to raves. I was in bars. And definitely at that time, if I look back, it was more of the hipster kind of people going to the party, not to see the DJ. They go to the party to hang out with their friends and do all that, and go see, like, oh yeah, the guy from Interpol is going to DJ, and the guy from Block Party is DJing, and that was the culture that was created. And then from then, we kind of built LA. We built a little niche in LA with that scene of, that kind of hipster culture, like where you do a party with Vice and do our own, like, cool little indie thing. And then eventually through the act of DJing, you just learn to DJ. This is pre-digital, it's all vinyl. And then, eventually I started doing remixes in 2005. And that was another really big milestone for me, because at that stage, I was just a DJ, just playing records. And I was like, I'm going to try to do some remixes. So I remixed an artist on my label that no one else could say no to, because it was on my label. Like, you can't do this remix. I'm like, well, I got the parts, and I could put it out myself. So I remixed Block Party with a friend of mine that taught me everything. And so we started this group called Weird Science, and we remixed, for the course of like those 2 years of working together, we remixed like maybe 14 different artists. And it was a great training period for me to understand, to go from, understand how you play guitar and being in a band and collaborating in that regard, to working off a laptop next to someone and understanding how to write a song that way.
So how is that dynamic? I'm just curious, kind of coming from the band world and then moving to a DJ. How do you relate the two? Do you think the performing kind of has the same, I guess, the crowd has the same reaction? I mean, some of the criticisms of DJs is that, technology is getting so good and they basically get up there and just play their music instead of actually playing an instrument. Do you see that? And what do you think of the differences between those kind of two divides between the instruments and just playing something on a turntable?
Right. So, like the DJ, the standard DJ that's going to play music, mix the songs, and play with EQs to amplify, because the whole idea of DJing is to amplify the environment with the music. So whether if you don't decide to leave the booth and do some sort of activity to create the entertainment angle, and you stay there and you work with the EQs and you really try to amplify the sounds, make it sound more emotional, or take away, or take it to a low or take it to the high. That's the goal in the end. The idea is to enhance our emotional sensibilities. And to be honest with you, as much as how active I am on the stage, my favorite performance, and the performance that really shook me and changed my perspective, was later in 2009. I saw these two DJs, and I wouldn't call them DJs. I call them more like aliens. And they barely even moved. They barely moved. They maybe moved an arm up one time. And when they moved the arm up, people are going crazy. And they're just standing there, and the music is just it's an immersion. It literally just soaks into your body. And I swear to God, after that, I refound music again. Mm-hmm. And that group was Daft Punk. And that's right when they came out in 2007 at Coachella, blew everyone's minds with this incredible production of this pyramid. And it was just something that DJs didn't really do. They didn't do production like that on that scale. Mm-hmm. They're not really DJs. They're like something else, something different. But they are standing there exactly doing what you're doing, just standing there controlling sounds and mixing it in a way where you're feeling the music. You're not necessarily there to watch raw guitars and people singing and crying their through the mic and stuff. It's a different kind of experience.
And then the performance itself. You're now known for throwing cakes and crowd surfing. Where do you find the inspiration? How do you plan? Let's say beyond the set itself, the performance. Is it all just come to you as you're up on stage, or you have things kind of planned out ahead of time?
Yeah, more importantly behind all that, it's the reason why I do those activities is, once again, it's the same philosophy of amplifying the environment and making the energy through the roof. So anyone, you don't have to be the person getting cake, but when you want to watch that you want to watch that happening. If I was a cake, someone in the crowd, I guarantee everyone in the room was going to watch that. It's and you're going to see the expression on the face. You want to see what they look like afterwards, you're just oh my God, that person got caked all over his face, and then they enjoyed it. And then when you see the feeling of fuck, I just got caked. This is greatest experience. I never thought I would like this. And then everyone's all of a sudden, everyone's having a good time. Yeah. It's a celebration.
Do we have a cake here? Does anyone want to be caked?
Well, no one wants to get an ambush cake. Yeah. If I all of a sudden was you're in the middle of a serious speech, I'm oh, you would probably punch me. But
yeah,
so but the point is I'm doing these activities to raise the bar of energy, make everyone feel good. I look at the crowd. I really look at the crowd and make sure people are having a good time. And actually, I zone on the guy that's just looking around. No, I'm not interested. And my goal at that point is to be I want to find a way to turn that guy's frown into a smile and have him jumping, having a good time. If I could do that, I'm sweet. That's a victory. It's little things like that, little games that you play when you're DJing.
That's great. And how has technology now affected not only your music but your life? You're interested in investing in technology companies, and what do you look for, I guess, within the tech world beyond the music world?
Well, I have an album called Neon Future coming out, and it's all based on the concept of looking at the world being excited about the future and the technology and the science and advancing our evolution through technology and finding all new gadgets and stuff like it's. I mean, that's your world. So yeah, for me it's exciting, and I'm trying to bridge my musical world, at least the audience that follows me, to see it. You know, okay, you're gonna party, you're gonna rage when you're at the club or when you're at the festivals, but this music's also, I want to deflect some of that towards the things that interest me, like singularity, like the concepts of singularity, the concepts of artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, and by creating a serious name around the album Neon Future, now I'm interviewing like different people that are speaking about the future and talking about, like Ray Kurzweil, Aubrey de Grey. I'm here with you. You know, I'm very happy to be sitting here with you. Like,
or I just deal with cat videos primarily, not singularity. But I mean, I think you know, my background in technology just really started as, maybe it kind of relates to how you started with bands. It's based on an interest. I got my start in Silicon Valley, moving out to start working for an encryption company that developed the product PayPal. It was like really early on in '99. We didn't really know what we were doing. We just started working on this project that kind of evolved into a payments product. But from that, we're able to have a network of people around us that I could start working with when we had other interesting ideas come along. And one of those ideas was video. So we just kind of approached it as yet another project that we were interested in that we didn't really know anything about. Reconnected, started working on some ideas, and that evolved into YouTube. But you know, I continue to try to take that curiosity, probably the same curiosity that musicians or other creatives have, because actually my background's in design, so I kind of relate the two worlds pretty closely together. You're trying to create something that doesn't exist yet, but in a visual sense. So applying a lot of that to the logos, the brands, how people relate to the product is probably not that much different than how people maybe relate to an album or a piece of music. But with YouTube, yeah, we just were able to be at the right place at the right time. We were able to get a few things right by solving some of the small problems for people. Just backstage, I was speaking to someone who was talking about just all the different video formats, and that was one of the bigger breakthroughs that we had with YouTube, was to simplify that just into Flash video so you wouldn't have to think about the type of video file you were dealing with. And now, since moving on from YouTube, I've been working on a new app called MixBit. It's a collaborative video app. So I'm trying to expand this idea of content creation to hopefully involve more people, because I was just looking at the YouTube experience as a very kind of singular, isolating experience where someone had to know how to record, edit, and publish a video all themselves. And if you wanted to do that together, it kind of required you to move here to Hollywood. So instead of kind of trying to replicate the traditional industry model or Hollywood model, how do you build an app that allows people to collaborate on a global basis with content that they're creating? Right now, that's in a public sense. You can reuse all the content that's on the site on MixBit, but we're going to do it in a more intimate way where you can invite people into projects and create more meaningful stories and create more meaningful experiences that you can share with one another. So kind of that's where I was coming from, and that's how technology has kind of influenced my life. But I continue to kind of remain curious. And with singularity, I don't know where things are going to go. I'd be curious to what your thoughts are on singularity. I do think that you know, this idea of the virtual and the physical worlds combining at some point may happen, maybe not as soon as some people think, but yeah, I would love to hear what you think on singularity.
There are the insurance policies that are out there where you can actually vitrify your body and your brain and wait. Well, this is post-death, and store wait for that moment for when that technology exists.
So have you signed up for this service?
I went to the facility. I went to a facility, and I talked to the CEO there and learned about it. You know, and it's like you're either going to be in the ground with worms crawling through your face, you're dead, okay, or you're going to be cremated, or you could just be like, you know, your head in like a jar, or not in a jar, but like a container at -500 Kelvin, where it's exactly the same as it was, unless you're burned up in a car or something, you know. But you know, like because I agree with you. I think that I was fortunate enough to interview Ray Kurzweil yesterday. Went to your hood up there, and you know, I'm definitely amazed by his predictions, because he's 86% of his predictions that he's made in his books on the trajectory of where we're going with technology and the price proportion rate of, you know, like for example, the computer in the 70s was like $150 million the size of a room, and here we are with the iPhone, you know, in 2014, that's like soon going to be a blood cell, you know, that will attack viruses and cancer cells.
Did he get to show you any of the new stuff that he's working on with Google, or
Google?
the artificial intelligence?
I did ask him that question, and I'm not sure what I can say. But
it's off the record here.
It's all exciting stuff. I mean, like, that's why, like, what he was telling me is that Google read his new book, How to Create a Mind. And it's basically understanding the brain, and, you know, it's a massive mystery, but if we can understand the brain and, you know, not necessarily reverse map it or engineer it, but we can unlock, you know, a whole new level of knowledge and technology and fusing and yeah, so basically, like, he read the book, the CEO, and was like, it's all yours. You could have the resources to do what you need to do. And I'm definitely a big supporter of Ray Kurzweil's methodology, his approach, what his goal is. And you know, he's looking towards a more positive utopian future, not like a future where we see in like movies like Transcendence, or you know, these movies where the Terminator is going to come and turn us into slaves, and you know.
Well, before we get too far ahead ourselves with Singularity and talk about the future, let's talk about today and technology we can leverage to help.
Well, MixBit sounds like it's. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like YouTube, but sharing. Like
it's a shared
YouTube
version.
Is singular, but
well, I looked at YouTube as a way to distribute and solve the distribution problem around video, and we're able to get a few things right to solve that. But with MixBit, it's more about creation. I don't think necessarily there's been a solution tailored towards the creation amongst multiple individuals, and also just providing them with the tools that are easy enough for everyone to use. Even iMovie confuses people, so we're trying to figure out how we automate some of those things, where you can just place a theme against a video, and just not a filter like you would on Instagram, but talking about transitions and music and other type of effects that you can place over top of a video to give it a specific type of feel, like any music video would have. But just empowering people to do that by themselves. But yeah, it's an evolution, and it's just when you create something, I'd imagine in the music world it's harder because you're trying to produce something that's somewhat static, or you're ready to publish your piece, and unless you're going to remix it, it's not going to change too much. But I think within the internet world, you have the flexibility of having some thoughts on how people are going to react. You throw that out there, see how people respond, and then adjust. It's not as static as producing just a single song, which I think, you know, gives you a little bit of an advantage in terms of just continuing to take your time to get things right. But in terms of other services, Twitter, Instagram, or even Facebook or YouTube, which one do you leverage, or which one do you find the most beneficial to connect with your fan base? And do you approach it from a promotional standpoint, or is it you're really trying to share personal experiences? Or does it always go back to selling albums and records?
Well, Instagram is the fun tool for me, because it's just I get to pick photos. I mean, the one thing is that when I travel with a whole crew. Like, I travel with a videographer, I travel with a photographer, documenting, you know, different scenes of, you know, what we're doing, and putting it together, whether for YouTube, and that, I mean, you know, digressing off in that direction, YouTube, I mean, I always say we live in a YouTube generation now, at least for my music, because you don't hear Steve Aoki music on the TV or the radio, and if you do, it's just like for a split second, like, oh, this is a cool track, and then never again. And I don't want to focus any attention or like try to break in there. I'm happy where I am with the YouTube world. and this world that generally I control, for the most part. So it's like the where I am at the level that I am now is because of YouTube, I'd say Twitter is more of a tool. It's not a destination. Mm-hmm. YouTube is a destination. Instagram is more of a destination. And it's funny because I was like trying to think, how do I direct people to YouTube? I'm going to try to direct people through Instagram by posting these little teasers of videos coming up on my mm-hmm. YouTube channel, because that's where like I want people to go. Ends up being that Instagram teasers ends up being the destination. So now Instagram, I feel like has played more of that role, at least for me, to have fun. I enjoy posting up these interesting pictures, and that's generally where I see the comments, because it's on my phone. Yeah. That's another difference, is that having the access to see the comments and see the interplay between yourself, your fans, and your haters. Yeah. And is more accessible there. Whereas Facebook, it's just such like a Facebook, I feel like is the mother brain of all of it. And I don't really interact with Facebook mm-hmm. that much because it's just too massive and it's just completely like uncontrollable. I mean, as far as the comments. Yeah.
So what is the worst comment you've ever received?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Every single one you can imagine. Like, it's everything to like, a crooked smile, my hair being greasy from not showering for a couple days, to like, everything you could possibly imagine. Like they just pick on you. They love to pick on you. And there's plenty of blogs. There's like new blogs. Like there's like this one blog called Wonderland. It's like a onion-based blog, and they said they made this crazy post. It sounded very real, of me saying that I'm not a DJ, I'm an actor. I had other people produce my music. All this is a joke, and like I'm just laughing to the bank at all the EDM fans and just making fun of everyone. And they're like, they're quoting me saying like, haha, this is such a joke. I'm just taking a piss. And like people didn't know it was a satirical site. So I saw that in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's so funny. Oh my God. And then like days later, there's like Facebook posts, and then like some other blog reposted that. And they're like, Steve Aoki is not even a DJ. He's an actor. He's like, doesn't do anything. And then it's just continued to unravel. And all of a sudden, people love to pick up on that stuff more than anything. Yeah. So like you go on the internet for that kind of stuff.
I mean, the rumors and the way, things spread throughout the internet these days, I found that probably the best way to approach it is just to be proactive and direct, instead of just trying to ignore things. I mean, in the past, you could just ignore it and it would just eventually disappear. But if you don't address it, then it just kind of perpetuates itself. Right. So like the story of the Vegas club, being started because you couldn't get through.
Right, so, right. Anyway, that one is like, what is Hakkasan going to do?
Yeah. But I was going to say, using those social kind of media outlets as ways to get feedback from your fans, how do you do that as you're producing new material? Where do you get inspiration if you're trying new things? Do you see how people react in clubs, or do you see how people react on YouTube or Twitter? Do you take that feedback and do anything with it?
There's two approaches the way I see it. It's like, one is when I produce singles that are just meant for the club, and most of those are collaborations because those are on the fly. Like I'll just jump in the studio with Diplo or Dioro. We did this collaboration called Free, or like some other people. It's lighthearted. It's not like, okay, let's have an approach here. Let's just have fun and let's just kind of vibe out. And this is something I wrote. Like, does this work with you? Okay, cool. And then those records is definitely, that feedback is important. And it's like we'll test out a tool. Test out a drop, see how it affects people. Oh, that didn't really work. Let's like change the patterns here, change the sound design a little bit. Whereas there's that world. Then there's the album process world, where it's a little bit more sacred, and I don't like to play those songs out too much. Okay. It's more musically composed, where I'm imagining people listening to this not in the club. And because I can always make the club remix, or I can make an edit for the club. This is a musical composition that reflects a certain period of time in my life. And sometimes it just takes a long time. My last album, Wonderland, took me 4 years. 4 years in time to finish, just because of how, it was just difficult touring the way I was touring and being able to, start back on an idea. And eventually I was like, holy shit, I started the song in 2007. And it's coming out in 2012. I mean, it just happens like that,
So when's your next album due to come out?
2027. Okay. No, actually, it's coming out it's a 2-part album coming out in August. Can I mention that? Sorry.
August 2027.
Well, the first part's coming out this summer, so scratch the August, edit, and then next year, I'm making an announcement on this. I don't know.
Leave it up to the team. We'll take care of it.
So let's talk about you. Let's talk about. I feel like I'm hogging everything, man. You're so good at asking questions, and you're
so good at answering.
No, I'm just trying to think of there's like little things like I'm so curious how YouTube started. Like, how many people were in the office? Like, were you guys like in a dungeon? What,
I wish. No, we would meet up. So a few guys that used to work with at PayPal, we'd meet up and just talk about ideas. We'd just meet up at a local coffee shop and just talk about things we could work on. And video came up as an opportunity where we thought it would be just an interesting project. We knew nothing about video, so what could we do within that space? And we had different ideas of how we could approach it. Would it be more like a social network? Would it be more maybe tailored towards auctions, because we were coming from PayPal? At the end of the day, me and my co-founder Steve Chen, we just decided to make a generic video platform, a platform that would accept any video format. We would re-encode it into that flash so it would play back seamlessly for the viewers, and make this a site that allowed the audience to determine what would become popular. Because at the time there was a few video sites that existed, but they were accepting probably video uploads through email, and they were kind of determining what they wanted to feature in terms of viral videos that they'd be showing. But with us, we'd accept everything and anything, and it would instantly go up on the site. People then could share these links without having to be signed in. They could actually grab an embed, a video embed, and at the time place it on MySpace. And that just allowed us to kind of solve a few of those problems around video that allowed us to kind of grow and get a jump start on the competition. At the time, I guess they weren't that obvious, but after we were able to apply them, we started the snowball effect where we had the most video content online. And if you're going to watch a video, where do you want to go? You want to go where the most video exists, which was YouTube. And then the same thing happened on the uploader side or the creator side, where if you're going to upload a video online, where do you want to put it? Well, you want to put it in front of the largest audience. So we were able to get those natural network effects working that allowed us just to pull away from the competition. Really early on to working on YouTube, Google announced Google Video, and just really paranoid and scared that they were going to be doing things a lot cheaper, faster, and bigger than us. But luckily we were able to create the brand and the destination before they were able to really get anything out the door that was similar to our service. I think they required a video player you had to download at the time. When you would upload a video, it would take about a week until it would go live. Just a lot of these barriers, all these barriers that we removed for our users to make it more seamless, allowed us to succeed. So that's kind of how we got things started, and it sort of took on a life of its own from there. And really, so it started with me and Steve. By the time we sold to Google 18 months later, we had 67 people within the company. And during that process, we raised $11.5 million, but then we ended up selling for $1.76 billion to Google.
You're rich.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. But at the time, there was still a lot of doubts about YouTube. Was it going to survive? Was it a real business? Because the video ad market didn't exist online yet. Those dollars hadn't transitioned from TV, and just a lot of people just having a lot of doubts about Google acquiring us. But we had no other choice at the time, because we had so many threats from traditional media and also the internet world. They're all concerned about our growth, but just in terms of people, resources, machines, needed a lot to make all of that continue to run. So really, at the end of the day, the only option we had was being supported by Google. And I think it was the best decision that we ever made, because I don't think YouTube actually would exist if we didn't had made that decision at the time. Because Eric, Larry, and Sergey said that, you guys can stay in your own offices, just tell us what you need, tell us who gets in your way, and just continue to grow. And I stayed on board for, even though I had to stay there for about a year, I stayed there for 4 years, and really was able to see things through, and my eyes kind of repay them for taking that risk on us. So I still think there's a lot ahead for YouTube, and just in general, just in the video space, I still think things I'm working on with MixBit, I still think there's opportunities for other formats to exist. I think Instagram and Vine are showing that there's other formats that people want to consume, and hopefully there's just going to be new ways to make it easier for people to create that content. So,
also, this is a little bit like rewinding again, but inspiration. What did, like, when you guys got together to create YouTube, did you have like a model or something that worked? Like, I always think of like Friendster. Remember when Friendster existed? And then MySpace was like, oh, we're gonna be the better Friendster. And then MySpace couldn't keep up, and then Facebook's like, well, we're the better MySpace. Was there a YouTube that was happening before YouTube that?
No, like I said, I mean, there were some video sites out there that were accepting video files, but they didn't exist as YouTube. It wasn't this open community of video content being submitted. And we were just, kind of lucky in a way where we had created, or at least on my whiteboard in my garage, just created kind of this idea of a video player, set of actions, some comments, and related videos. And that kind of layout just was able to stick. It just kind of worked for people to be able to consume and easily browse and interact with the video content. And then things like the brand and the logo and these other feature kind of decisions we made around how we were transcoding the videos just kind of all created this perfect storm of cat videos. So, but we'd love to open it up to questions, I guess, if we're ready to do that.
Hey, guys. So, Steve, really quick question. So do you feel that you are the main, or you and your team are the main drivers to your YouTube channel? You said that you leverage Instagram as, a way to get out the message, or do you feel that YouTube helps with that? And then, Chad, honestly, how did you procure the Kimye engagement clip?
Oh, yes.
I'll let you go first, because that's a juicy one. Everyone's kind of waiting for that one.
Oh, yes. Kanye West. So I did this friend I met in Sydney that works for Kanye, and he said he's coming in town. He's coming to San Francisco, and we're going to this event that he's having. And, we didn't know what was going on. We just assumed it was Kim's birthday or something, and we didn't know where it was. So we show up at AT&T Park and proceeded to just hang out and drink, and they tell us to go out to the field and be quiet. And we're kind of like, what's going on? At the time, everyone was taking photos and videos. So, obviously with my background, I'm going to take video. And we, just proceeded to hang out, record stuff, take off. It's not until the next day I'm checking like Instagram, and there's like photos and videos of the event on all these other services. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll upload mine as well. What the hell? And of course, mine gets picked up by like TMZ and everybody else in the world. And my friend's saying like, you should probably take that off. I was like, well, they didn't tell me to take it off, and tell them, send me an email and all this stuff. He sends me an email, or I sent them an email. It's like, yeah, I'm happy to take it off. Let me know what you're going to do. And they never got back to me. It was pretty funny because we had a very similar situation with Saturday Night Live and the Lazy Sunday video on YouTube back in the day. It's like one of our first viral hits. So this skit started receiving millions of views. I sent them an email and said, hey, did you upload this? Because if you did, we'd take it down. Of course, it took them about 2 weeks to get back to us after it received millions and millions of views and all this coverage to take it down, and we finally did. So that's kind of where we stand with things. I don't know. I feel like I did nothing wrong, so I'm not going to settle. So whatever. We'll see what happens.
What was the question again? There's some sort of YouTube. Right. Yeah, I mean, I produce a lot of content for YouTube. So I travel with my team, and we put up all kinds of different videos. We do like the tour video, you know, on the road is what I call it. I'm starting to make this production tutorial videos. You know, just everything based around my life. We make these like funny videos called Esteban Aoki, and we're really like, yeah, just it's really funny. Like all these kind of weird little bits, and I do believe, I feel like it's more of an insular subscription growth. I don't really see the numbers driving up from certain videos, and because if I do see, like, you know, it goes from like 10,000 to 50,000 in a few hours, and I'm like, oh, it must be from outsourced, you know, promotion. Mm-hmm. But I really believe it's more like subscription based internally, and then it slowly kind of spreads out. Because also the subscriptions are, when I look at the growth of them, they're very linear. They're not like exponentially growing. It's always like 1,000 or 2,000 a day of growth. And it's when I see that really not changing, I always feel like it's not really from outside source. It's more like whoever's my fans. And you know, I always keep driving to the YouTube channel at the end of the day. I feel like that's like the, you know, that and the Facebook are more of the destinations.
Hi, Steve. My name is Anthony Polis. I work at DJcity.com. I've been following you and Dim Mak for many years online, and I've always admired your approach and your company's approach to social media and just being real and embracing the community. And my question for you is, you know, you mentioned Instagram being a really important personal favorite of yours as a platform. Do you feel like there's a platform coming in the near future that will become your favorite or the next big thing? Or is there any particular service that's emerging that really excites you and you feel like there's a lot of room for growth?
MixBit?
It's going to be huge.
Besides that, I want to check it out, but any other ones besides Chats?
I love to use what's not broken, what's working, and what's communicating easily. Because I think one thing that Chad mentioned is that it's about making things easier to use. You don't want to have these extra buttons and things you have to do to get to what you want. You always want to make the person going to that site, make it easy to get what they want to see. So it's, or view or hear or whatever it might be. So it's I mean, I use what works: SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook. Those are like my go-tos for sure. As far as like what's next, I don't even know if Vine. I think Vine's kind of fallen off, to be honest.
Yeah, Vine's done.
Yeah, like Instagram is definitely there for a while. I don't foresee something else that could take shape at that scale that I'm aware of. You know, I want to know, of course.
What do you feel about Snapchat? Like, we hear about Snapchat all the time, but I don't hear like a lot of musicians talking about Snapchat. Is that like, do you think that has a place in music marketing, or is that just a way for people to send scandalous photos to each other? You know?
I don't have a Snapchat. Actually, I made one, and then I deleted it a day later.
Yeah, that's what
because I was scared. I don't want to see like dicks and like weird, you know, things coming into my phone. You know, I just don't care about it. I don't want it. I don't really care. So, yeah.
A question for Steve. I'm Marco from IM.DJ. We probably have the answer to what colleagues over here was talking about for the next platform. So how would you actually look at a possible platform where you converge all the social media content and put you in touch basically with all of your fans, since because you were saying that actually all your fans, and whatever they say, whatever their comments are actually helping you for your future decision. How would you look at that? How would you consider it?
Like an aggregation of all social media?
Just all DJs
Make it
in one
happen.
spot.
You should make it.
Okay, I'll give you a business card and you can have a look
Yeah,
at it
yeah.
as a preview
Make it happen and
for
show
chat
me.
too. Thanks.
That's your next thing.
Yeah,
too,
that's
right?
exactly the next idea.
Question for Chad. You're noticing a lot today, cable television being disrupted. You see Amazon doing original content. You see Hulu and Netflix and all these different companies and Apple TV and all these talks. Where do you see television content and television consumption shifting, and where do you see it 5 years from now?
Yeah, well, I think all the services you mentioned, that's where it's shifting. I think Netflix has probably been the most disruptive, and it's just heading to where, with connected devices, it's not a linear broadcast. It's going to be kind of, pick your own adventure, just pick your own programming. And I think that Netflix has done a great thing with being one of the first to step up with original programming, just to diversify and to protect themselves from relicensing content all the time, be so dependent upon just the content creators themselves. But I think it'll continue to move in that direction, and that hopefully there'll be more people empowered to create their own content. I think that there's always going to be a place for premium produced television content or movie content, but I think as more and more people become familiar with the tools and are empowered with the right distribution, hopefully the level of content quality continues to rise. When we started the revenue sharing program on YouTube, it was just for that case, and we wanted to first start a service that was more about the content than the reward. The views were the reward, but we thought that a monetary reward would kind of alienate the content creation process, and introducing revenue sharing to the users was a way to allow these users to not treat it as a part-time job, to actually focus on their craft and create better content that would in turn help the viewers experience. So I think that's happened, and it's only been a few years, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few after that.
I have a question. Your trip up to the San Francisco is what provoked this question. Do you see, or do you have a take on the aggressive way in which Pandora is fighting really hard to reduce the amount of money that they're actually paying songwriters out there? And otherwise, do you see any kind of change in the approach that the tech companies take towards music and paying fair market value for it?
Is that for me? What did you say again? Pandora's not paying people?
Well, as you know, Pandora does not pay artists a fair market value, and they're very aggressive in trying to reduce the amount of money that songwriters are going to get paid well below market value. They're doing that because they have the power, much like terrestrial radio had the power for a long time. It is not a promotional-only experience. After all, if radio was only about promotion, they would play crap songs, but they don't, because they don't want listeners to change channels. So I'm just sort of curious as to whether or not you've ever taken an opinion as to what Pandora is doing to the songwriters that are out there, and do you ever think, and if so, do you think that there'll be any change in their attitude in the near future?
Well, I guess my general opinion about free music is, this is going to sound really strange because I have a record label, but by all means, like let it happen from an artist perspective. Because when more people hear my music, then the more people come to my shows, and that's really where I see me winning as an artist financially. The scale on how you make money off of publishing and record sales is so much smaller than when you play shows, and that relationship you have with your audience and fans is much more meaningful to them and to yourself when you go and spend $40 or $60 on a ticket to go see your favorite artist go play their song that you love. So it's I don't know, because at the same time I agree with you, or maybe you're not saying that, but like I do agree that there needs to be restrictions and limitations, and someone needs to fight Pandora boxing match style, just don't give away free music. But we did actually something interesting with Dim Mak. I mean, there was a point in time where I remember the period of time where we were physically just releasing music, and then we went to digital. It was like 100% physical, then it went to 80% physical and 20% digital. Then it just flipped to like eventually 20% physical and 80% digital, and then there's barely any physical product anymore. And then our business overhead just reduced to a point where, wow, we can actually pump out records and put more money in marketing. And then at that turning point, that was the point when Napster was going on, the fight for free music. And then we got to the point where, you know what? We're going to give away the music online and do an experimentation in 2008 with Mastercraft. And we gave away a single, and we released it the same day. And we did it again, and we realized, like, over the course of time, and this is like so long ago, so it just feels archaic, but like back then it was like a massive risk. And we realized the songs that we gave away the most, that were circulating through, people were hearing, those are the ones that are actually selling the most. So in the end, the ones that people hear all the time are the ones that people end up buying at the end of the day. So it's kind of like this weird, it's kind of a weird situation. You want circulation at the end of the day is what you want. You want to circulate the music, and then people will have the decision to buy it or bootleg it. I don't know.
So, kind of tying into that, there's a lot of labels that are now doing individualized subscription services. So, Ausla's doing one, deadmau5 is doing one. Is that something that could possibly be in the future for Dim Mak?
Yes, definitely. And we have this thing called Free Fridays. It's not as organized as a subscription-based platform, but we're already in that framework where the idea of circulation of music is the most important part of the business. So the more the music's out there, the more the music's accepted, the more people are taking those songs and turning them into their own viral videos, like the selfie record, where you see like people in the non-dance world taking it and making their own selfie vines and videos. I mean, that was an incredible thing to see from an independent perspective. I mean, we've never actually been part of a record that broke down that cultural barrier. And usually it's a major label approach where they're paying off money and making sure like the radio is pushing it. It just kind of happened, and it was crazy to see that from our end, having all these people that like they don't know that Dim Mak put out the record, but they're just making their own songs. We kind of just started the engine and hit a very few kind of tastemakers and radio people, and it just like people just took it like what Pharrell said about his song. It no longer became his. It's like you want that phenomenon to occur with a song where it's now the world's song to do whatever they want to the song.
Yeah. And on that note, early on at YouTube, we tried to cut all the deals with all the music labels and publishers so we could support just that. Other than being sued out of existence like Napster, we wanted to actually provide opportunities for the labels to control how the content was being used. So implementing audio fingerprinting, which allowed them to remove it if they would want to from the site more easily and be able to recognize when it came back on the site. But more importantly, we wanted to introduce new ways for them to monetize that content, so placing ads against it and allowing them to embrace the fans in a new way. When before they would always just view that as piracy, now this was a video format that they can embrace that they were monetizing. And I don't know about you. I don't know if you have insight to the revenue you receive from YouTube, but I know a lot of artists receive more of their money from these user-generated videos than they do from the actual music videos themselves. And YouTube pays the labels well over $1 billion a year now. And when we first got started out, yeah, they wanted to kill us just like potentially they want to kill Pandora today. But now they're very grateful that they didn't. Any other questions?
With the invention of Google Glass, what are your thoughts on possibility of live streaming your life 24/7 with live chat? Because that goes to Steve.
I don't know. I had a pair of Google Glass and I wore them for about an hour. I think it's good that they've developed a product for people to experiment with, but I don't think the format is quite there yet. I have one of those Basis watches or whatever that connects, or the Pebble watch that connects to your phone. I think right now that's probably the more elegant solution, so you can check text messages by looking like you're checking the time versus looking at your phone. But I think something along the lines, not necessarily as extreme as Singularity, is going to solve some of these ways for people to have more immersive experiences with their technology, but I don't think a pair of glasses is the solution just yet.
Well, it's the step. Because eventually we're going to be wearing contact lenses that are just going to be, you can blink 5 times and videoing, punch your head, take a picture. I can't wait for that moment. Like, I'm going to fucking do some crazy shit.
Yeah. Well, I think, that type of technology that allows people to stay more engaged without being distracted, I think is going to actually help people interact with one another. Just hopefully it doesn't overload, your senses while you're trying to have a discussion and you keep getting alerts in your eyes. So, yeah.
Any more questions out there? Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Steve and Chad.